PFF names the Chicago Bears secret weapon, and it's probably what most of you guys are thinking. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, we're going to talk about Kevin Byard and the expectations that the defense has for it, and who could be one of the sleepers to make an impact on that defense in 2024. We'll talk about that as well. We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. So PFF was going through each team and naming kind of each team's biggest strength heading into the season. And PFF named the Chicago Bears wide receiver core as one of their strengths. Now, this may come to maybe a little bit of a surprise considering that while this wide receiver core is extremely talented, we haven't yet seen it take the field yet together, right? And so in this, they named the key returning players, of course, in DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, who are going to be part of the unit that is getting catches from Caleb Williams, but then also saying that the most impactful addition is going to be Keenan Allen, and then the player that's on the most track is Rome Odunze in that. So it seems like the Chicago Bears' new look wide receiving core and core overall, throw in Gerald Everett into that as well, and DeAndre Swift, who's going to be receiving catches out the backfield, is what everybody's kind of waiting to see when it comes down to it last year. And that's something that's going to be interesting to watch for this team, is to see how this wide receiving core really does come together and how much does it live up to the expectations that exist on paper for the Chicago Bears receiving core. And that comes down to Shane Waldron's utilization. That comes down to the development of Caleb Williams, all those things. We understand that this has the potential to be one of the better receiving tandems in the NFL and definitely in Bears history on top of that. But everything has to really come down to it as well. And you still want to strike that balance between run and pass, right? And I think with the Bears going out and getting a player like DeAndre Swift to add to Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson, that shows that the running the ball is still going to be something that this Bears team does a lot, right? And if you look at Shane Waldron's history, even with Seattle, that the run-pass balance got, more and more running opportunities happen for that team over the course of those years. So it's really good to watch that. But then when you look at DJ Moore, you pair in the fact of his over 13 yards receiving, over 1,300 yards receiving last year, Cole Kmet over 700 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns as well. He almost was a Pro Bowl player. This team already showed a lot with Darnell Mooney, having his up and down time, and EQ St. Brown, we already know, and the play of Justin Fields, all those type of things. So when you add that in to the Chicago Bears, there's more than enough reason to have that high expectations for this receiving core, and we have to see this Bears team live up to it, right? And you guys know, I do give a little leeway for a slower start. I know some of the more impatient Bears fans ain't trying to hear that, and I can understand this is a very talented group, and we want to see this group rocking and rolling as early as possible on top of all of that, and we'll see how it's gonna bring out. But when you have the talented trio that we're going to have at the wide receiver position, plus the tight end talent, plus the running back talent, this team on offense is going to have tons of expectations in front of it. And, PFF and some other outlets are keeping that going, and that shouldn't be anything that's a surprise. You look at where we've upgraded at. Robert Tonyan, that we upgraded from him with Gerald Everett. That is an upgrade. We got to see that. Our wide receiver core upgrades with Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, and, the changes that we made to the quarterback position, the upgrades that we've made there that everybody's expecting. And then the offensive line. It's still a lot comes down to what this offensive line brings. And me, C-Dub, and Bobby had a live stream on that over on Sunday in which we talked about, how our faith in the offensive line. And there's faith. This offensive line has more talent than what some Bears fans give it credit to. And I think that as long as health and continuity is there are reasons to believe that they're going to perform much better than what they did, especially with having competent centers in there now. But Darnell Wright still hopefully going to take another leap. Tevin Jenkins hopefully can stay healthy. We already know he's one of the best linemen in the game of football when he's able to stay healthy and be on the football field. So we just need to see those things. But I think this is going to be a group that produces. I think it's going to be even better. No matter how they start off, whether it starts off rocky or whatever, they should be a much better group by the end of the season than what they are by the start of the season, just through the growth of the rookie quarterback and Shane Waldron's understanding of that. But I want to throw the question here to you guys. When you look at saying what is going to be the Bears' biggest strength heading into the season, I initially thought the secondary, because the secondary is a unit that's been together. It's been there. We talked about the statistics of the secondary in yesterday's episode, but we'll get back to that. Over the beginning of the season, through the first 8 games, they allowed a passer rating of 99.6. Over the final 9, 74.9 passer rating. When you look at it, the ability to get to the quarterback and things, I know that's not the secondary. That's the synergy between the front line and the secondary. But opponents just stopped passing the ball effectively against the Chicago Bears, and they started running it more. Now, that could be because they had better success on the ground, but I still look at that secondary as being something that should be having high expectations for as well. But, hey, listen, I can't be mad at people, calling for the wide receiver core to be a big part of that. So let me know what you guys think on that. But either way, there are huge expectations facing this defense. And Kevin Byard has been one of the more vocal guys, even being a new addition to this team, in the confidence of the defense. He said this: we're expecting to be a top defense. Anything less than that is a letdown. And also, just know full well that with having a younger quarterback, especially during the year, we have to get off to a fast start. I would say looking over the horizon, or whatever how early in the season, as far as the offense with a lot of new pieces kind of meshing together. So as a defense, we've got to make sure that we're being a top defense. As we get later into the year and those guys are rolling, all 3 phases rolling together, just being a defense, we got to make sure that we're holding it down on our end of the bargain, no matter what the score is, what the offense is doing, and what anybody else is doing. We've got to make sure we're a top defense. That's what we expect. We talk about that every single day. Even on a day like today, the last couple of periods is like, hey, we haven't done anything. We're just getting started. So that's our plan, and that's what we are going to continue to work for every single day. I love hearing that. I told you guys in yesterday's episode, I am a defense guy. Now, could that come from the fact that I'm a Chicago Bears fan lifelong? And, usually when the Bears are good, our defense is great, right? So that does play a part into that. But hearing that Kevin Byard and that defense through their own conversations, are having that expectations of them being a top defense this year, we need that. And I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that, right? Even kind of echoing his sentiments of what I've been saying, that, this offense could take a minute to mesh together. But the defense, especially returning as many starters as what they're returning, the expectations are going to be there for the defense to step up and have a big season right away. Kevin Byard, his chemistry with Jaquan Brisker and them holding down that safety position is going to be hugely important. You look at the cornerback crew with Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson, Terrell Smith in there. Like we have guys on this team that are going to have expectations right away. And then that front line, right? We already know on the front line, we got a sleeper that we're going to talk about there on that front line as well from an article. But there's more than enough reason to believe that this is the group. And don't overlook Terrell Smith in this. I really don't want to overlook Terrell Smith, because I really think that Terrell Smith and his ability to kind of fill in multiple roles coming off that bench for any of those guys, and Tyreek Stevenson, Kyler Gordon, he's going to be playing a lot of different roles, but having Terrell Smith there as a guy who kind of can fill in, that could be a luxury. This is a starting level cornerback, and he showed that a lot of parts last season. And so seeing how the Bears keep him involved in the game as well is going to be really important. But this defense is the defense that I'm looking. The one aspect of this team that I am looking at to be ready to go to start the season. They don't have the luxury of finding time. Well, they're going to find time to mesh as well, right? You got Javon coming into the new, but they don't have the luxury of that whole unit, right? You got most of your starters returning. They need to hit that ground running. They need to be a defense that is going to get opposing offenses off the field, that's going to help put our offense in some of the better situations on the field as well. And so I love hearing that, and I love hearing that that's what the mindset is of this team. And we've talked about it before. Matt Eberflus is a defensive coach, right? A defensive-minded coach. And the one thing, if you're pulling anything that he's done the best, is the defense improving over time under him as well. And so, the defense was on the slide under Matt Nagy. We had been on a several-year slide where we got worse and worse over years. Matt Eberflus was brought in partially to help get that even, to do some analysis, to develop players, right? And that's what we did. We got out a player like Eddie Jackson, who a lot of Bears fans had an affinity for, but the fact of the matter was he just wasn't productive per what his contract was, and I don't think he's gotten another job in the NFL yet. Maybe he can come back. We'll see what happens with that. But So you've made those improvements. You made those step ups. Now we need to see that continue, and we need to be the defense in the way that we finished the season. Finishing the season on pace to be, well, I think we were the number 2 defense per points allowed over like the last 9 weeks, something like that. We need to maintain being that. We need to keep getting those takeaways. This defense is going to have to dig in. And while offense is going to get a lot of the talk, it's going to get a lot of the notice, rightfully so, right? I can understand why the defense is getting that. The Bears defense is going to have to live up. I'm sorry, why the Bears offense is getting a lot of the notice and things like that. The defense is going to have to come in and be the reason and remind people of why you can't overlook the defense. And so we'll see what happens in that. And there are some players that definitely need to step up. We talked about Javon Dexter in yesterday's episode and how him being the 3 tech to start the season and the Bears not going out and finding that really showed a level of faith in him and why his development is hugely important to the Bears' success this upcoming season with the way that Matt Eberflus's defensive system is ran, with the pressure from the interior defensive line helps so much in just how that system works. But the edge was a position that we didn't necessarily address in a way that a lot of Bears fans was hoping was going to be addressed this offseason. And so with that said, there was a article from Bleacher Report in which they talked about some of the sleepers for the Chicago Bears. And actually listed in this was Austin Booker. And when you kind of the way they laid this out, it really did kind of open my eyes as well. When you look at DeMarcus Walker right now, right, on the opposite side of Montez Sweat as that edge, he's a solid starter. You look at the fact that he was a second-round pick, has 25 career starts in 7 seasons, 23 sacks over that time as well. His best sack year was in 2022 where he put up 7 sacks. This is a guy who can get to the quarterback, right? But then you look after DeMarcus Walker. You got Khalid Kareem, Dominique Robinson, Jacob Martin. These guys have a combined 12 years, 147 games of NFL experience with just 23 starts and only 21 sacks. That doesn't even match what just DeMarcus Walker has done in his career, and God forbid Montez Sweat. So then you bring in Austin Booker, the kind of he's an unproven player and a guy that the Bears got because he has that tremendous upside. When you look at him, 505 total snaps in college is an extremely small amount, right? And even with that said, he was expected by some mocks to go in the 3rd round, looked at as a 3rd round talent that the Bears got in round 5. If Austin Booker is able to come in and be something special for this Bears team, it could really change some things. When you look at his last season in college, 8 sacks, 12 tackles for a loss, 56 tackles, and 2 forced fumbles. That is the production that you do look at somebody and say, while he's undersized, while he has some concerns and things like that, this is a guy that you can look at and try, and not even if you squint your eyes hard enough, but if you just really look at the raw talent that this kid has, you can believe that he could be a sleeper. And you can see why, you've already heard things like he can compete for a starting position this year. The Bears are going to allow him to compete for a starting position. It's all on Austin Booker to live up and to see what he can bring. But he is somebody who can make a name for himself in his rookie year in the NFL. Now, is he going to have to do it through being a depth piece right away? Probably. When you look at his physicals, though, 6'4", 240 pounds, has the long wingspan as well, right? 33-inch arms, things like that. This is a guy who is athletic. This is a guy who, he performed well, in college in the limited snaps. He didn't have a great combine, which definitely I think kind of dropped him down. But he has the pass moves. He has the thing. He has all of that when it comes down to it. And so an Austin Booker that can come in and make a name for himself for the Chicago Bears in his rookie year could do so much for the growth and development of this team that it could really be wild when it comes down to it. So we're gonna see what he brings and how much he's able to kind of shine and show out for the Chicago Bears. But I'm telling you, if you get a player like either DeMarcus Walker to have a big season, because if he can have a 7-sack season on the opposite side of Montez Sweat, that does wonders for the Bears as well. But if Austin Booker can come in and be a difference maker, right, and earn something, God forbid if he does enough to earn a starting role in his rookie year, considering all the things in front of him. But if he can just be difference maker, because he's going to get his opportunities. He is going to get his snaps. Eric Washington likes to keep that defensive line fresh. This is something I keep saying because I want you guys to understand there are going to be opportunities. There's going to be opportunities in preseason. There's going to be opportunities, of course, in training camp. But there's going to be opportunities once the season starts for every defensive lineman that is on this roster. Keith Randolph as well, who I really do think has a really good chance to make the final roster. But as these guys grow and develop, Eric Washington is not going to be afraid to play them snaps. Now, how many snaps is going to depend on their performance, but they're going to get opportunities to earn and show what they can bring. And then that role, of course, can increase as they show a bigger ability to handle whatever's being asked of them by that defense. And so this is one of those seasons where I know offense is going to get a lot of talk. We're going to talk about offense a lot here on this show this season. I understand that. And the offense, everybody's going to be kind of looking at what Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, and everybody else does there, right? But this is a year where the defense is going to be hugely important. And this is one of those years where I think the Bears can make noise on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. And that is why you hear the expectations for the Chicago Bears. And I hear the haters, right? I even hear and see some of your guys' comments of, I've blocked a couple of fools because we just don't have time here for the dumbassery, right? But we do have time for honest criticism and honest concern over the team. And so while there are some, there are those legitimate concerns here, this Bears team, if this works out, and I'm not even saying till it's full capacity, right? I'm saying if this works out, 80 to 80% of the potential of this team, 85% of the potential of this team, you're looking at a team that is going to be one of the more versatile Bears teams on both sides of the ball that we've ever really seen here in Chicago. And in a lot of ways, we deserve that, right? We deserve for our offense to really catch up with our defense and things like that. So these are things that we want to see continue, that we want to see develop, and that we want to see our team really excel in. And, that comes down to Matt Eberflus and this coaching staff, and that you can't overlook the eyes that are going to be on them as well. Shane Waldron, whether right or wrong, inheriting this type of offense, the Bears making the changes that they've made to this type of offense is going to be big. The eyes that are on that are going to be big because the Bears didn't just keep the offense the same for Shane as what we had last year and expect you to fix something that was broken. No, we didn't clear the deck. I don't know if that's the right phrase to use here, but we brought in enough new weapons and a new quarterback to where Shane Waldron is going to be able to put his imprint on this team, and Bears fans are going to be looking to see what he does. Kind of some of those doubts around Shane Waldron and the screenplays because, unfortunately, Luke Getsy has given Bears fans PTSD when it comes to hearing things about screenplays, right? So he brings that of himself as something that he's going to have to show and prove the Chicago Bears team to be able to do and do consistently on the offensive side of the ball. And then we all know Matt Eberflus. Listen, whether people they go to the most and say, well, Matt Eberflus is a lame duck head coach, which, we've seen the conversation around Eric of Eberflus go from a coach that's expected to be fired per odds to now he's like one of the odds-on favorites to win Coach of the Year this year, right? So those eyes are all on it, and fingers are going to be pointed, especially if the Bears do struggle, but everywhere between Caleb Williams to Matt Eberflus to even Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren. But we're going to have to show, grow, develop, and get to a place where this team can be something that we all think that they can be. We all see the potential in what this team can be, but they just got to bring it all together, man. We just got to find a way to bring it together and to be what we want and hope that this franchise can be and what we deserve for so long, right? The stadium comments, all those type of things, that's all fine and dandy. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We do at some point got to talk about how it's now looking like that shout out to Barry, who was kind of a prophet. That stadium shit is going to get a little funky here in a second, but this is a time to be excited as Bears fans. It's time for some doubt as well, right? But this is a time to be excited as Bears fans, and I think that this team is going to bring a lot. We got 103 days until the Chicago Bears play meaningful football, meaning not preseason football, regular season football. And we do have the preseason between now and then. This is some time to be excited, guys. I got a lot of hope for this team this season. I hope that you guys do too. And I hope that we're willing as a Bears fan base to be patient. I know that it sucks. I know it sounds better to say, oh yeah, this Bears team got to rock and roll. Anything less than this, and this, it sucks. Yes, those things are there in the back of the mind, but it's how we get there. And I know Bears fans are going to be ready to jump on whatever if there's some struggles early on, but I really think that this is going to be a Bears team that we're proud of here towards the end of the season, and that's going to make us proud, again, to be Bears fans, and we're going to be competing for something this season. But let's hope that my hope in that is actually brought forth into reality, because I tell you what, another disappointing Bears season, I probably would break my chair again. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following the show at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you guys want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.